seconds. We have complete clearance for launch. We are go. 20. 9. Guidance internal. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Howdy, neighbors. May the Lord bless you.
We figured out a long time ago that it's much easier to control people when we're all watching the same TV shows, listening to the same radio stations, going to the same movies, looking at the same billboards, eating the same food, and speaking the same language.
I'm talking about my life. I can't seem to get that through to you. I'm not just talking about one person, I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about form. I'm talking about content. I'm talking about interrelationships. I'm talking about God, the devil, hell, heaven. Do you understand? Finally!
All will obey Santa in this new world order. Oh, yeah?
You're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola company.
That sounds like a lot of...
There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and amazing interwoven, multinational dominion of dollars. Multinational dominion
which will produce and control hallucinations to the point that it will change human reality.
PsiOp Radio.
Decoding the psychological warfare machinations within paranormal and parapolitical landscapes. PsiOp Radio.
This is Smiles Lewis.
And I'm Mack White.
And it's PsiOp Radio number 149. Dang, we're a hair's width away from episode 150.
Yeah.
This July 17th, 2011. This is a crazy headline from BoulderWeekly.com. Did the APA once advocate mind-controlled drugs for politicians? Author David Acomazzo questions, do corruption, big money influence, and cronyism in politics have you feeling down? Never fear. Check out this gem of an AP article from the September 5th, 1971 edition of the Daily Camera for one psychologist's inventive solution. Yep. Apparently, the then president of the American Psychological Association, Kenneth B. Clark, recommended the development of a drug that could curb a politician's natural impulses towards corruption. It's not an anomaly, folks. It's natural. Conspiracy and corruption, that is. The president of the American Psychological Association suggested Saturday development of a drug to be administered to successful politicians to prevent abuse of power in public office, reads the article from back in 1971. Clark, the first Negro president of the APA, said politicians should be the first to receive such a drug because they hold, quote, life and death powers over mankind in this nuclear age, saying the alternative to his overall proposal may be ultimate destruction of the human species. The New York psychologist said the initial use of mind-controlling drugs on politicians should cover a range from, quote, the man aspiring to be a city councilman in Ward 8, right up to the incumbent or aspiring president of the United States. He urged also international agreement to assure that similar practices were inaugurated in all countries, like present efforts toward disarmament, because control over man's baser instincts would be disarmament in its most realistic sense.
Wow. Well, that's a novel approach.
This isn't The Onion?
I mean...
1971?
Yeah. Mind-controlling people to do good. Now, that's refreshing. But mind-controlling politicians to be good. You know, this reminds me of a weird comic book I read when I was a kid. It was a Superman comic. It was one of these stories that they... in the Silver Age era of the DC Comics in the early 60s, they would occasionally have these stories in Superman that they called imaginary stories because they took place in a sideways reality.
Bizarro world.
Yeah, a parallel reality.
So we're in one of those right now.
Yeah, we got stuck in a sideways reality somehow, and we're trying to get out. But yeah, and in this one, what happens to Superman in this alternate reality is he's doing some kind of experiment, and he gets split into two. There's two Supermans, where there was one before, Superman Red and Superman Blue, and one has a blue costume and one has red. And this solves a lot of problems in his life, like, well, one can marry Lois Lane, the other one can marry Lana Lang, you know. But they find that...
Everybody wants to clone themselves, right?
Well, Superman, you know, in addition to having super strength and supervision and so forth, you know, also is you know, has a super mind. You know, he's a genius. And
he's a schemer.
Yep. And he's got all kinds of ideas. And, well, in this story, because you obviously, if you got two Superman, well, two heads are smarter than one. So they invent all these wonderful things that benefit mankind, you know. And with one of them,
serve
the ultimate, yes, to serve the famous, was it Twilight Zone or was it Outer Limits? I forget which. Anyway, we're talking about Superman. Superman Blue and Superman Red. They invent some kind of a ray that they put on all these satellites that just circle the globe and beam this ray and just cover the entire planet Earth with this mind control ray that makes it impossible for people to do bad. And everybody becomes good, and Lex Luthor becomes good, and everybody lives happily ever after.
It'll be the V-chip for each of us, like on South Park, where if you see or say a bad word or see or do evil or break the law, if you have a thought about breaking the law, you'll get a nice little zap.
Ouch! Yeah, the Clockwork Orange school of Pavlovian conditioning. Well, anyway, that's why I just love those weird Silver Age Superman comics when I was growing up. Yeah. That was one of the stranger ones.
They were telling the truth. It was the they live of their time.
Well, but who knew that this APA article, the American Psychological Association, what year was that?
That was 1971.
Well, he must have read the Superman comic. Because that comic came out in about 62 or 63.
Give these people ideas, and they'll...
Got to be careful what you put into a...
They'll make a police state dystopia out of it.
I should... God knows what some people could do with the comic books I've put out. I shudder to think.